My name is Geraud Blanks, Geraud Blanks. I graduated 2014 undergrad. 2014 was undergrad, 2016 master's. To be honest, what's funny is I actually started school in the 90s, and then I left, and then I came back as an adult student, and I had spent so much time in Africology. I'm sorry, I still call it Africology, my bad, but in African and African American diaspora studies, that it was like, I should probably get a degree in this because I just love taking the classes. It's like, I grew up in a home where, knowledge of self, knowing your history, and having a knowledge of your culture was just part of how I grew up. It was instilled in me at a young age. And so I was taking all of these, at the time, Africology classes, even though I wasn't an Africology major. So when I left school and then came back, it was like, well, now I should probably get a degree in this. And I've just always enjoyed the classes, always enjoyed the professors, stayed in touch with a lot of them too over the years. So it's always just felt kind of like a home for me. So, the work that I do at Milwaukee Film is created this, it's kind of a department, but it's really sort of this initiative called Cultures and Communities. And it's, UWM people probably recognize the name because I took the name from UWM. I asked permission though, but I always loved that title. I thought it just seemed like the perfect title for the work I was doing at Milwaukee Film, which is all about reaching out to the vast, diverse cultures in our city, and also connecting with all of these communities. Milwaukee is very segregated. So the idea was that we were going to take, our work in programming and film and take it to all these communities, but tailor it to all these different cultures, right? And so it was just natural, me getting a degree, and I was a double major. So I was media studies and Africology, and it was just like, that was the perfect mix for me, right? So it was media and essentially Black studies. And that's basically what I did. And, I'm the co-founder of Black Lens. So there it is right there. That's sort of the culmination of my degree. And, I'm co-founder with Dr. Dante McFadden, who's also a graduate of UWM. So it was like, and he's a film studies major. So we just took everything that we had learned at UWM in our various majors and brought it to Milwaukee Film, essentially. My role is essentially, in starting Black Lens and starting Cultures and Communities, my role has always been to think about how we connect the work we do in film, film programming, event programming, to vast communities, right? So every day I go in, I'm working on, first of all, creating new projects and new programs, right? So we just had an amazing Black History Month, in February this year. And that really comes out of me going in and talking to the team and saying, okay, what do we need to do next? And so, part of it is finding films and coming up with great events and putting together great panels. But a lot of my day is really just spent trying to do outreach, and trying to connect with people in the community. I mean, the African Diaspora Studies Department at UWM, like I'm always contacting Dr. Wilson and saying, hey, we're doing this. I'm contacting Rachel and saying, hey, we're doing this. So like, if you get an email from me, that's one of maybe 200 I'm sending out that day and say, hey, everybody, we got this great programming. So yeah, one part of it is coming up with the programming. I spend a lot of time on that. But then I think the other part of it is trying to connect it with the community, trying to do outreach, and then trying to raise money, for the programming. So like every day it's like, come up with a great idea. Okay, that's the first part. Then the second part is, how do we push it out? How do we get it out to people? How do we partner with UWM? It's just every day for me is just thinking about how we can innovate and build on the last day, particularly in terms of making connections with the community and then just getting better. So we learn every time we do a program, we get a better sense of what to do and not to do. And my job is making sure the team is evolving. So we're never just doing the same thing again and again, if that makes sense. You know what I would say to students considering a minor or a major, considering any sort of degree in African and African American diaspora studies, is be a better student than I was. And I only say that, I say that, jokingly, but, if there's one regret I have is that I was a much better student the second time around. And it was because I was older, had a daughter, I was getting married. And so it was just like, I was just more responsible and more accountable. And I regretted how much time, I started with Dr. Winston Van Horn. And I remember taking his class, and I wasn't the greatest student, right? And now imagining if I had that time back in his class, being the student that I am now, because I'm still in school. And so just appreciate the opportunity, because you're going to be in the room with great professors, really just world-class educators, world-class scholars. Appreciate the time, right? Take advantage of it, because the thing that I learned when I came back to school is that you really don't need to make it that difficult. You know what I mean? I'm always preaching to my students. Look, if you just do your work and not make excuses and take accountability, even an average student can get so much out of, being in a class with teachers like Dr. Wilson, right? With professors like Dr. Mitchell Walthour. So, who helped me tremendously, you know what I mean? When I came back to UWM. So take advantage of it, appreciate it, you know what I mean? And even if it gets difficult, keep in mind that at the end of the day, if you put in the work, chances are you're probably going to get the grades you want. You know what I mean? And I had to learn that much later in life. And like I said, there were so many good classes and so many good professors that I had the first time around that I don't think I appreciated. But I got to do it over. I actually had to do several classes over. that's how bad of a student I was the first time. But it taught me a lesson, and it got me to refocus. And now, like I said, I'm so happy that I had a chance to sort of get a second chance. But what I would tell students is you don't need a second chance. Take advantage when you have the opportunity. All right. So anybody that is an AADS major or minor, internships. We're starting an internship program in my department at Milwaukee Film. Internships. Get out there, experience the world, right? That's one really important thing. The other thing is get to know your professors. Go to events. Like, one of the things that I've learned is going to talks and hearing scholars and other speakers can really expand your understanding of the work it is that you're doing, right? And your own scholarship. But get to know your professors, get guidance from your professors. Really start to think early. Don't wait until your junior or senior year. You're probably a junior by the time you declare, right? So at that point, you really have to be sort of all in, really invested, and you really have to start thinking in terms of what are next steps? Do I want to go to grad school? Do I want to get a PhD? Do I want to get out in the field and start working? If so, where? What kind of work do I want to do? And that's where the internship comes in. So I would really start thinking. It took me so long to sort of buckle down and figure out what I wanted to do with my degree and just with my life in general. And so, again, if I had to do it over, I really would have prepared better. One thing, little anecdote that I think is great. My girlfriend in college, I remember she graduated like in 3 years. She graduated early because she went to summer school, right? She went to school over the summer. She took extra classes, right? And it was like, I remember I'm dropping out of college while she's graduating, So, but that was a lesson because it was like she was doing the work and she was getting the internships while I was, goofing off or whatever. And so just get serious, there'll be plenty of time to have fun and to play and do all the things you want to do. But while you have this opportunity, get serious, start thinking about your career, start making the connections, reach out to your guidance counselors, professors, take advantage of all of the things, the mentorship that you can receive at UWM. That's the thing that I really wish I would have done is really leaned into the mentors that were available. Mentorship is so powerful. And so like anyone that is in the program now that might be a year or two away from graduation, it's not too late to start getting mentored and start thinking about internships and a career path. It's funny, I taught a course for one semester about a year ago. And one of the things, I had a mixed bag of students, but what was interesting is my mother always would tell me, Geraud, if you don't care about a class, so what? Show effort. Just show effort. You'll get a C for showing up. And if you do some work and show some effort, you'll at least get a B. And it's so funny because as a teacher, I try to preach that to my students all the time. Show up every day, be consistent, show effort, reach out to the teacher when you're struggling, raise your hand and ask questions or try to answer questions in class. Just be present and show effort. And it will go a long, long way. And it will help separate you from everyone else. It's that, I forgot the old adage, just showing up like eliminates half of your competition. And then if you put in a little bit of effort, you will find that people will notice you, right? People will notice and you'll get opportunities. So I think that's the main thing that I would impart is if you show effort in your courses, in your classes in AADS, I think you'll be richly rewarded. And again, ultimately, this is an opportunity to prepare yourself for your future. And, it's hard to get across to young students, even adult students sometimes, because everyone has a lot going on in their life, but being consistent and showing effort, if you do that and you graduate with an AADS degree, whether it's a major or minor, whatever, you'll be in a good spot. You know what I mean? You'll be in a good position to do the things you want to do.